This week on Cageside Seats, the podcast, we're talking about free agent Cody Rhodes because, of course, we are, seriously. And then, of course, the Elimination Chamber fallout.
Welcome to Cageside Seats, the podcast. We don't have a good name, but we do have great opinions. I'm your host, Stella Cheeks, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Marcus Benjamin.
Hey, Stella, and hey, wrestling fans. It's been a week. It's been a week, and if you're like us, you're still recovering from the week.
I'm recovering from the Elimination Chamber. Can I just say, team all pay-per-views should be at 12 p.m. on a Saturday.
You can't tell because I'm not actually doing it, but in my head, I'm giving you a standing ovation. Because I agree. Like, even in my recap, I wrote, Saturday afternoon's great for wrestling. Yeah. We should do this all the time.
We should do it in the afternoon more often. I like this. We should maybe not do it in Saudi Arabia, but we should do it in the afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, imagine, WrestleMania started at, actually, you know what, WrestleMania 2000 didn't act like it, while the actual event was like at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night or whatever, the whole event started at like noon. Like, I remember that. Like, I remember they started really early and they were just on all day. They should do that again and just make it an all-day event like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, lots of football games and stuff are in the middle of the day.
Yeah, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Football. When the Super Bowl was last weekend and it started at 9 o'clock in the morning, basically. Why not do WrestleMania the same way? I'm just saying, WWE, pay me. That's all.
Just pay me. Okay, we got to talk about the Elimination Chamber. Overall thoughts?
Overall, I think it was an average pay-per-view. Like, it was, I'm sorry, an average premium live event.
Refuse.
Yeah.
Refuse.
It was fine, man. I mean, the main event was atrocious. I was going to say ferocious, which is a combination of horrendous and atrocious. Horrific also works. The women's Elimination Chamber was great. The Roman and Goldberg match just went too long. Like, it was fine, but it's too long, man. They didn't need to do all that. We didn't need a collar and elbow tie up from Roman and Goldberg and whatever. I appreciate the fact that Usos seemingly had our backs and they were like, yo, you don't need a tag match, do you? Nah, you don't need a tag match. Let's just go ahead and beat these boys up and get out of here.
We flew 20 hours to be here, but we don't want to be here, so we out.
Yeah, like, it was fine. What about you? What did you think?
I thought that it was very predictable, but it was overall pretty pleasant to watch for me. I don't know if I just had like noon goggles on where I was like, this feels nice. But I thought most of the matches, at least, even if the outcome was predictable, the actual matches themselves were fun to watch. So at least it wasn't like predictable and boring. It was just like predictable.
I would say I would agree. Well, for me, that holds true for pretty much everything except the main event, where it was, because, like you said, predictable, right? And not only did they do the thing where the ending was so obvious, except I didn't predict Austin Theory as the guy that was going to get fed to Brock. More on that later. But the way they book everybody, like, it's Brock. So any match with Brock that doesn't include Roman or doesn't include other people who can sort of beat up on each other for a while Brock is busy doing something else, doing beast things, he's going to destroy everybody once he finally turns his attention. That's exactly what happened. And while it's entertaining seeing Riddle and AJ and Seth and Austin to a degree, and I would say Bobby Lashley, but Bobby Lashley limped out with a concussion. Don't know how that happens, but
quote unquote concussion.
Right, a quote unquote he's in concussion protocol, right? Adapting NFL jargon. And I don't know. That match was not fun for me to watch because they make everyone look so weak.
Yeah.
Around Brock, and it's just like there's no suspense at all. And then making Austin the last guy was just like, oh, all right, well, okay.
See, I'm having conflicting feelings because I agree with you, but I also have different feelings. We're gonna jumble up this whole order of how we normally do this because this
Mm-hmm.
is our first like immediate podcast post pay per view. So we'll save our we'll give Cody Rhodes the main event he didn't get tonight,
Yeah.
and
The main
we'll
event he richly deserves. Mm-hmm.
yeah, we'll give him the main event of this podcast. So we'll just jump into Elimination Chamber because this is clearly what's living rent free in your head right now, right?
Yeah, yeah. That I had to write 2,000 words about it. So yeah, it's all up there. It's just that's where it is right now.
My feeling about this is, and my feeling about Brock in general is this catch-22 that WWE has put a lot of audience members in, at least audience members who are enjoying Brock Lesnar's work right now. For me, like this Brock Lesnar for me is the best Brock Lesnar. He
Agreed.
is
Yes.
very entertaining. He's funny. He's personable, which is a
Mm-hmm.
weird thing to say about Brock Lesnar. His wrestling is some of the best wrestling that he's had since, I don't know, he fought Angle. Like
Right.
he's showing up to work and he's putting in the work and he is being a good sports entertainer. And his feud, his love triangle, whatever, with Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns is the most compelling storyline in all of WWE. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
But to put Brock into the WWE Championship, it puts me, at least, in a position where I am like, I love this Brock Lesnar. I do want him to be strong, and I do want him to be in a position of power in this feud with Roman because I acknowledge both Roman and that this feud is the best feud in WWE. But I don't want that to happen at the expense of literally everybody else. And so, even though there were really fun Brock spots in that match, like Brock kicking out of the pod was badass.
That
Brock,
was incredible.
it was great. Like, I don't need to wait for a light to let me into this match. I'm Brock Lesnar. I can break this pod in half. Like, that's a great Brock spot. The spot of him chasing Theory around the ring and, like, just two-step, like, jumping basically on the top of the chamber. That's a great Brock spot. That was awesome. Brock F5ing off the Austin Theory off the pod. Great Brock spot. Awesome. But the match itself, if you take out the Brock spots, it's just a lame match. It's a lame match with a predictable ending that made everybody in that match look foolish.
Yep.
Some of the best top stars in wrestling, Rollins, AJ. I don't personally really like Matt Riddle, and I have a lot of opinions about Austin Theory, so I was like very glad to see him get F5 specifically. But it also made Lashley look ridiculous. Like I don't know if it was their way of trying to protect him, right? Because they didn't want to make Lashley look any weaker than he did, but he still looks weak. Like Brock kicked his way out of the pod and Lashley got bonked in the head in the pod and had to leave. Like it still made Lashley look weak.
Yeah, it makes him look like he had a boo-boo. You know?
Yeah. Bobby
Like
had a boo-boo.
oopsie, Bobby had a boo-boo, and now Bobby can't compete. And I completely agree with you. Like even watching it, I said, man, I hate the fact that there are only a few people who are legitimately important in the eyes of Vincent Kennedy McMahon and
I
his
mean, we've been
company.
saying it for weeks in your
Yeah.
posts and my posts in this
Yep.
podcast on the
Yep.
Twitter. Like it is what it is.
Right. I hate it. That's funny. That's actually the title of my recap. It is what it is.
I didn't
We're
even
s-
read that.
um,
Synergy.
You're right. But when I watch Brock, I get it. I mean, like you said, it's the catch-22 where you see him. It's like, oh, well, of course. How could
Duh.
you not? Yes, this guy is important. He has a je ne sais quoi that no one else has. In that match, and that's not to say I don't love AJ or Seth or any of those. Like they're great, but they don't have that extra thing that Brock has, that intangible that you can't really define.
They don't have the overalls.
Yeah, they don't have the ponytail. So I completely understand why they throw him the bag every single time, and why they probably will throw him the extra double, triple wide bag at WrestleMania and have him fight 2 nights in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I don't think that's going to happen, but I get why they would. But man, it's just everyone else looks weak, not just Lashley, AJ, Seth, Riddle, Austin. Like they all look weak. Now, Austin can afford to look weak, even though I still don't understand what they're doing with that.
I'm sure we'll get a really fun grooming segment from Vincent Kennedy McMahon on Monday Night Raw, where he mumbles in a way where nobody can understand him, but it still gives off a super creepy vibe. I'm sure we'll get all of that.
Just this weird thing where they all look weak, and we can spend an entire time talking about that. Let's go to the next match, because I know I'm going to spiral talking about this thing.
So the thing that's living rent free in my head is actually the women's Elimination Chamber match, because it slapped. It was super good.
It's great.
Everybody came out in like an incredible fit.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody looked good except for Doudrop. They did Doudrop dirty. They gave her a really boring, weird outfit, which seems like they did it because she's a bigger girl, and that's super lame. But Liv looked like Britney Spears. Bianca looked awesome. Rhea Ripley looked like she was walking into Mad Max Arena.
Did you not see what Sean and I said in the Slack?
Did you say something about a Cenobite?
No. Oh, we should have, but no. Sean said she looked venomized, and I said, we are brutality.
See, it works. You could be Venom, Rhea Venom. You could be Mad Max. You could be Step 1 on her way to becoming a Cenobite.
Oh man, I didn't think about the Cenobite thing. That's fantastic. Yeah, she looks like that. But yeah, you're right. Go ahead. Continue. Yes.
Nikki actually looked like a superhero, because that looked like a good superhero costume. Alexa, this was her first match back. I loved how they incorporated her little skirt, even though hilariously, like when they did the double spot
that
with
was
Rhea
funny.
it's like, oh, this is why we don't wear skirts, actually.
Rhea tucking her head under it was hilarious.
Rhea handled it well, because that was a really cool spot of Bianca and Rhea doing the
double suplex, the double vertical standing suplex, where delayed, basically just hey, we're strong, so we're just going to see who's the strongest.
It was a great visual, especially because it clearly sets up some time in the future, whenever it happens, like a Rhea Bianca feud is going to be dope. Like that's what like these big matches are good for, right? Like Elimination Chamber, Royal Rumble, you should have moments like that where you plant seeds that will come to fruition 8 months from now, a year from now. Like, that's exciting. So that was really great. I thought all the spots were awesome. I love seeing Alexa Bliss back in the ring. The therapy thing was so stupid, waste of time. I have a lot to say about all the supernatural trash that they did with Alexa, but the key thing with Alexa for me is Alexa is a really good performer. She made all of that dumb supernatural stuff and that therapy stuff believable. She's actually a very good actress. Like, she is good at character work. Even when she was walking in the ring and like going up to each pod and interacting with everybody, great character work. And then she's a good wrestler. She is a really good wrestler. And it was just fun to see her in the ring. And I like that it was down to Bianca and Alexa. I thought Alexa was going to win. I'm obviously happy Bianca won, because Bianca rules. Like, I'm always happy to see Bianca in a main event match. But that finale I thought was really good. There was just great spots. There was good follow through between Nikki Ash or Nikki ASH, whatever, and Rhea. I just thought it ruled. I liked it a lot. And that Bianca looks so good. The handspring out of the DDT spot, chef kiss, so good. I loved it.
And they gave Liv a moment where she got the power bomb to drop. Which was great. It's great for her, and Liv's whole thing is watch me and watch her get better. Yeah. So that was great. I also wanted to note the moment where Alexa almost had it. Like, Alexa had, she had the match and she was going to go for that mandible claw, and she didn't. And I think that's also good character work, and good on them, whoever decided to put that in, whether it was Alexa, whether it was Vince, whether it was, whoever booked that match. Great on them for that moment, because
she's changing,
but she's still fighting that inner demon, just to get real for a moment, we all know therapy is not like a thing you can do in 3 or 4 weeks and you're like, I'm cured now, yay. It doesn't work that way. And for her to get this sort of graduate therapy, but be in this ring, in this position that could possibly trigger her. Yeah. And then she does get triggered to go back to old habits. And that old habit is the reason she lost the match. I thought that was really dope and really well done. Obviously I love Bianca. So yes, hooray for Bianca. Yeah, great. Bianca and Becky at Mania, unfinished business there, clearly. So for sure. Let's do it.
100%. And also, like, Dewdrop had good moments too. Like she was really, really strong at the moment she walked out of her pod. Like she was really strong for a while. Like she was strong up until the moment that like Alexa got or
She
that Liv
was.
got one on over on her, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even though
Oh, she dominated. Yeah, she
she
dominated the
dominated.
match when it was just Liv and, and Nikki. She was killing everybody. Yeah, like that. And she looked. That's the best they've booked her since she got to the main roster, where it actually, because with Bianca they made her like a chump, and here they really said, okay, no, you are powerful. You need to assert that power.
Mhm.
You need to dominate, and she did. It was like you said. It was only when like her whole thing is her momentum is always used against her,
Yeah.
and that's what happened.
Yeah.
So, but that's wrestling. That's how it normally works.
Yeah, I just appreciated that match because everybody got an actual moment to shine. The ending worked for me. I liked seeing Alexa Bliss back. Like, good.
One more thing on this before we leave. I would be remiss if I didn't say this. Shout out to the women because they have to deal with the things that men don't have to deal with,
Mhm.
and they do it well. Like the men don't have to worry about that extra cumbersome layer when they perform. They get to come out in their regular tights, their regular pants, whatever they're wearing. The women have to wear full body suits
That they're
that
not
they're
used to
used
wearing.
to, right? They're not used to wearing, and they're in a very hot place. So I can't imagine it feels good at all doing anything in that. Now, granted, technology's come a long way and they can make them cooler, et cetera, but hot is hot. And it just props to all of them, not just from this match, but any woman who wrestled at Elimination Chamber. You get props down the line. That's a strength I will never know. That's a strength none of those guys on the roster will ever know because they don't have to deal with it. So, congrats, ladies.
Yeah. Also, to go off that, to be put into a position twofold. One, that you are put in a position where everybody keeps being like, look at them, they're game changers. Like, we're going to keep pointing at them and you have to smile and have no opinions, smile, And
Hmm.
then also to be put in a environment that could potentially turn hostile. It didn't, like, and it hasn't in the past, thankfully, but like it is Saudi Arabia is a dangerous place. And
Yeah.
like the cool thing about these pay-per-views or whatever is that the Saudi crowd is really excited for people to be there, right? Like the people are not the government and they're happy to be there and they were just as excited to see all the women as they were for all the men. And that is really encouraging and nice to see. But yeah, shout out for being put in that position and not only showing up and doing your job, but showing up, doing your job and kicking ass.
Now, speaking of being put in positions to succeed or not succeed, Becky Lynch and Lita. So I was not a fan of this match,
Yeah, me
and
neither.
I don't think either woman looked great coming out of it.
Yeah.
Um, it was and it wasn't even that it was. Gotta get my words together on this one. It was just sloppy. Like
Yeah.
that's what I keep on at. It just felt sloppy.
It was just a
Like
bummer.
yeah, exactly. Right. Like I know Lita said previously there are no plans for her post Elimination Chamber. I hope that's not the case, just so that's not the last image of Lita, moving at that speed. And, as you noted while we were all watching, openly talking to Becky during the match.
Well, Becky was having a full conversation. Like,
Right.
come on,
Yeah.
guys.
Like, like they were trying to cover it up on commentary saying Becky's trying to really catch her breath. And I'm like, bruh, she's talking.
Yeah, I can hear the words coming out of her mouth.
I can not hear the words, but I know what lip movement and talking looks like versus I'm gasping for breath.
Yeah.
And then I keep coming back to that sleeper mode, that sleeper that she, and I'm using quotations with that sleeper that Lita put on Becky was just sloppy. Like it wasn't even a sleeper. Like she barely had her, like it's like her arms were behind Lita's head. And they're like, oh, she locked a sleeper on. I'm like, no, she didn't.
Yeah.
It was just unfortunate. Now, for them, the match did pick up towards the end, but again, unfortunately, that's towards the end.
Yeah.
I don't. Like I said, they both of them deserve better. They Lita's first match back, full match back, in God knows how long, and
A
she's
really long
coming.
time.
Yeah, and she's coming back to one, wrestling stuff she's never wrestled in before, like we just said, and two, wrestle in a condition. I don't mean the social condition. I mean the temperature. that she's never wrestled in before. That's tough. That's a lot to ask. And I don't
Yeah.
think they put her in a position to win. And you mentioned that earlier in the week when we were talking, that while you like the idea of Lita having this match, you don't like where it's happening for a litany of reasons.
Right. It just feels like it felt very much like a placeholder, and then that's what it was. Yeah, the match was hard. It was like a bummer to watch because like she got this great pop. Everybody has like this huge, great nostalgia for her. Like the Twitter feed is so happy to see her. I want to see I want to see female wrestling legends come back and get runs like the men do and get nostalgia runs and stuff, right? Like these pay-per-views in Saudi Arabia specifically are like nostalgia factories, right? Like so
Yeah.
many people come back for these stuff. We get people who get to come back years after they've been out of the ring and they get these great, incredible pops like Edge, who definitely deserves it. I'm not like, poo-pooing any of that stuff. So I want to see more legends in women's wrestling get these opportunities and not just show up randomly to do a Royal Rumble spot, which is great. I love that. But like, it's nice to have these more formal nostalgia spots or whatever. So I like the idea of it. And I think Lita did an okay job. She wasn't terrible or anything. It just felt really off. Not only the talking, but I feel like Lita came off as like really nervous and they were going so slow. And I think they were going slow because they were going at maybe Lita's pace, but because it was so slow, it almost looked like Becky was like sandbagging her.
Right, right.
Like I know Becky wasn't, but it just had a weird vibe and it was just kind of a bummer. And I don't it wasn't embarrassing. There's
No.
definitely like it wasn't like Goldberg versus
Undertaker?
Undertaker. Like it wasn't
No.
embarrassing or anything. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It was just a little bit of a bummer.
It felt, and we've used this on the show before, it felt haphazard.
Yeah.
It felt like a very just slapdash match, and they were just like, all right, let's just do this. So yeah, they were just put in a tough position all around. And I agree with you. Nothing to be embarrassed about, nothing to be ashamed about. I just hope there's more down the line for Lita.
Yeah.
In an environment that's more suited for her. And
Absolutely.
Becky too. Like that wasn't great for Becky. So we're going to go from someone you love, someone you have less than ideal feelings for, some would say. Ronda Rousey with one arm tied behind her back.
Tied to her side.
Tied to her side, I'm sorry.
I mean, it was supposed to be behind her back. Okay, right. I have a lot of opinions.
I know you do. That's when we get to this one. So Ronda and Naomi, who look like the best of friends.
Here's the thing. I feel personally attacked. I am ride or die for Naomi. She is in my like top 5. I love Naomi. I've always loved Naomi. I'm sure I've told this story before. I don't know if I've done it on this podcast. The one and only time I've ever made a wrestling sign, it was for Naomi, and it like lit up and it was really cool. And it said "Funk is on a roll" because this was way back when she had that gimmick.
Funkadactyls, yep.
We were in Chicago and I had the sign and it was awesome. And it was the night that her new gimmick debuted with her new song and stuff. And on one hand, I was so excited because I was like, yeah, she gets her own gimmick and her own identity. And like, yeah, this is so cool. And then I was like, I spent so long on this Focus on a Roll sign.
Hey, but you know what? It's the thought that counts.
There is a clip of my sign in a Total Divas episode.
Oh, that's dope. See, yeah, all right.
Don't worry about it. I'm infamous, I guess. Naomi's one of my favorites. This is a long way for me to say that. And I want her to have everything in the world. I thought she was a great champion. I think she was a really underrated champion. The match she had with Charlotte on SmackDown was dope as hell. She was excellent. That match was amazing. Just a reminder to everyone how good Naomi is. And then to put her with Ronda. You know what?
It's so weird as you say that. It's almost like they were like, oh, yeah. Oh, man, that people really do like this woman. Oh, man, that's a really good match.
That's exactly what they did.
Well, we have to sort of like transfuse that energy.
Like,
to
who's
Ronda.
Somebody who never gets booed? Naomi. Right. We'll put Ronda and Naomi. And I mean, it works out because Sonya and Naomi have this like history or whatever, and they were building with Charlotte and Sonya, like mini alliance, and then, Ronda and Charlotte are going to fight each other. So like storyline wise, it does make sense, but it did also just feel like, who never gets booed? Naomi. So conflicted there. But I do like the mashing of the storylines. That works because as much as I like Naomi and Sonya Deville and their feud or whatever, it's not a main event feud, right? So getting them on the pay-per-view, putting them with the main eventers, that makes sense. The match itself, okay, before we get to the match, we just praised a lot of people's like fits, right? Like everything for the most part looked good. Charlotte looked really boring, but everybody
Naomi
else looked
looked
great.
fantastic,
Naomi always
and
looks
that's
fantastic.
all I'm going to say about that because this is a PG show.
Okay. The thing about the gi, and people can disagree with me or whatever, the thing about the gi, it is really cool that she wore that. It makes sense to wear that if you're going to have to be fully covered. The history is there. Great intention. Terrible presentation. Terrible presentation. It made me really mad because everybody else is made up in a specific way. And so when she comes out in the gi, which looks so different to everything else, and doesn't have her hair done in any way, it's just like in a messy bun, like she put her hair up to wash her face, and she
Right.
has no makeup on.
Right.
It makes her look so drastically different from everybody else that it like completely others her in a way that is visually distracting. Now, I'm not saying all women have to wear makeup and have their hair curled or whatever. That is not what I'm saying. But the presentation just looked really strange next to everybody else, specifically because Ronda doesn't have a history of coming out with no makeup on. She literally has a history of coming out with insane makeup
Mm-hmm.
and hairdos and stuff. Like, there's no reason that they couldn't just do, some MMA style braids. That makes sense. Braid your hair back if you're going to fight and do like a little bit of like mascara or something. Like, it's also TV. It's like, put makeup on because your face looks different on an HD television. Like, men wear
Sure
makeup
does.
too. Like,
Yeah.
the presentation was weird. She walked out in flip-flops. Like, she could have wore her medal. Like, there's so many different things that they could have done. The idea is awesome. Understand that she is an Olympian. I understand that she has a history with that. It makes sense to wear that. I like the idea. Execution, terrible. Awful.
This is why Stella's the best co-host, because I would have never thought of any of that. I'm just sitting there listening to her, just like, yeah, right. Oh man, word, yeah. Because to me, I'm like, oh, she came on the gi. Oh, okay, that's dope. Oh, she got the flip flops. Oh, okay, that's dope. The no makeup thing is a choice. I don't really understand it because everyone else had on makeup, but all right, fine, whatever. But you have the background where you get all that.
I have
So
so many theater degrees.
right. So I respect that. I'm just like, oh, okay, and now I'm like, I get it. Completely
Especially
get
in
it.
WWE where flip-flops are a joke, right? Like Riddle wrestles
Right.
in bare feet, but
Yes.
he walks out with flip-flops, but he makes it a whole little joke because flip-flops are inherently hilarious. The name of the shoe is Flip-Flop. They're
Right.
stupid, right? I'm not saying she had to wear like heels or whatever. They just could have done something better with it.
You're right. You're saying that for this woman whom you spend a lot of money on,
Mhm.
you spend a lot of time on, you clearly love her when she's in your company. You're putting her in main event spots.
You're putting her in a match where she's going to win with one
Yeah.
hand tied behind her back, which is
Right.
the whole point of that is to make her look strong, powerful, formidable, and you
Yes.
put her in a position where it looks like she rolled out of bed to go buy milk.
Right. I agree. Yeah. Like you shouldn't look like me going to my 6 a.m. Speech class at freshman year in
Yeah.
college.
And this is
Like, yeah.
no disrespect to the way that geese fit and stuff like that. That is not what this is about. This is about the presentation.
Right, and that's a very separate discussion from the discussion we were having on the Office Slack versus the discussion I'm sure you saw online, where everyone was just like, "Oh yeah, the gi is a good choice. Oh yeah, the gi is cool," and you're just
It is
like,
cool.
"Yeah, it is cool, but you should make it look cool." And yeah, the way I would look at it now that I'm looking at through your lens, a Street Fighter character shouldn't look cooler than Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Ryu wearing a gi, Ken wearing a gi, that looks cool.
Yeah, because they have cool hair
Right,
and a
they got the
presentation.
hair, and they got the bandanas, and the wind blowing their hair, and like they got the poses. Whereas Ronda just like you said, like she just rolled out of bed and was like,
Yeah.
"All right, guys, I'm here."
Because it's
Cool.
not a judo match.
Right,
It is a professional wrestling, sports entertainment, blah 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 match. It
right,
has a style to it.
right, right, and yeah, and while also reinforcing the meta narrative that Ronda's special. She gets to come out in a gi. All of you get to come out in jumpsuits.
Totally. They could have made that. That is such a good point. Like, they could have made that the focus in a different way instead of they could have done a lot and they did it. And it, as always, annoyed me.
Maybe if they had more time, they would have done. But
No,
let's
they wouldn't
also
have.
be honest, they don't really care about details in this company, so they wouldn't have done it even if they had 5 hours.
It's all in
Point
the
is,
details.
right. Yeah. So, but the match itself, I agree with you. It was fine. You know, the match was fine.
I honestly, not to give credit to Ronda Rousey, because I hate to give credit to Ronda Rousey, but like with her hand tied, I actually thought that she did a pretty good job. I thought that it was one of her best performances in a WWE ring, actually. I don't know if it was just like sometimes constraints make you work harder. That's probably what it was. But she did some spots where I was like, okay, like she actually looks good. And the like any messiness or whatever felt like it was messiness because she had her hand tied behind her back, not because she's bad at her job. So like storyline wise, from Ronda's perspective in the ring, I actually thought it worked really well.
And I think since we're on the Naomi train right now, Naomi showed out as usual. And like, she was great. I love the character touch where Charlotte just really seemed uninterested in this entire thing. Like, I loved it. That's completely Charlotte.
You say character touch like Charlotte herself wasn't just completely uninterested.
I love the stuff where Ashley just was not interested in anything and just
Ashley was like, I don't want to be here.
I got no time for this.
She didn't even put rhinestones on her jumpsuit. She was like,
she didn't do anything. She was just like, whatever, man. I'm gonna go home. Like, it was just so obvious. Like, both the character and the woman who plays the character were just like, I'm done, yo.
I don't care.
Can we wrap this up? I'm ready to go.
She had Usos energy where she was just like, I'm out. I don't care. We got to go.
Like, I flew 20 hours. I gotta do stuff when I go. I have a maybe fiance to attend to when I get back. I don't know.
I love the Usos anyways, but that was just, it's such good character work, but it's also just very funny to be like, first of all, the SmackDown tag team scene is a nightmare anyways, because it's just like basically the Usos and the New Day, which like I love both those teams, but like they can't be the only teams, and so we're trying to build up like Viking Raiders, and they're like, LOL, no, I'm gonna kill you with your partner's body. And I'm out to peace.
But you're missing the best part. They did that while screaming to them, these boys aren't on our level. So that makes it even funnier that they're just like, yo, a match? Nah. With these dudes? Nah, let's just go handle that right now. Let's get in, let's get out. The illest part about it, besides the fact that they were saying these boys on our level while they were yelling, they weren't even in wrestling attire.
Yeah.
They were in jeans and t-shirts.
The disrespect.
Right. They basically just like, they came from catering. They're just like, yo, let's just go beat them up real quick and just be done and come back here and keep eating food. Cool. Let's do that. I love it. I loved it.
I really liked it. A lot of people hated it, and I get why a lot of people hated it. And there are really good arguments to be like, this is not how you fix the tag division. The Viking Raiders are never going to be whatever. I totally agree. As somebody who's thinking about like wrestling and what the future holds, 100% agree. As somebody who just objectively likes the Usos and thinks that that's a hilarious spot, it was great, and I loved it.
1000%, all of that. Is it a good long-term thing to do? Of course not.
No.
Is it great in the moment because I think it's high fucking hilarious?
Right.
Yes.
Is it a good thing to do 4 weeks or 5 weeks before WrestleMania? No.
It's the worst thing you could possibly do, actually. It's one of the worst things, if not the worst thing.
Yeah. The fallout from it is probably not going to be great, but in the moment, very funny.
And you know what? I guarantee this is exactly how WWE books. Is this the best thing we can do for the long term? Probably not. But is it the funniest thing we can do right now? Yeah.
We already have literal confirmation that that's how they book stuff. That is 100% true.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the horrific botch. In the Drew McIntyre Madcap Moss.
Okay. So okay, let me do this. Let me do this. Okay.
Go for it.
So the match itself, fine. Whatever. Fine. The Madcap Moss and Drew and Happy Corbin thing doesn't really do anything for me. It's just not my cup of tea. So I wasn't really interested in the match, especially if it's Falls Count Anywhere, I need my Falls Count Anywhere matches to be really serious. And
Yeah.
this one started that way, but they never really fully take advantage of the stipulation. However,
That's a big however.
Madcap Moss.
He got
First of all,
an adamantium skeleton.
right, and first of all, I hope homie is okay.
Yeah.
I really do hope he got an MRI after this match. Like, real talking, for those of you who missed it, or haven't seen it yet, don't Google it. Please don't, because it's horrific. So we're just going to tell you. Drew goes for an Alabama slam in the ring, thankfully. If there's one thing that I can say, thankfully, this happened in the ring, because if it happened outside of the ring, we're having a completely different discussion. Drew goes for an Alabama slam in the middle of the ring. I don't know whether he mistimed it. I don't know whether he misjudged how tall Madcap Moss is. I don't know what happened. But Madcap Moss did not fall flat like he was supposed to. Madcap Moss instead fell on top of his head. Yeah, like an actual pile drive on top of his head. And
the momentum of an Alabama slam with the positioning of a pile driver.
Right. And again, a man as tall as Drew's what, 6'6", 6'7"?
Yeah, sure.
6'8", whatever. So Drew's tall.
100 feet tall.
Right. He's tall as hell. Madcap Moss also tall as hell. So he's up pretty high in the air on this come down. And he hit the mat like a stack of quarters. And he bounced. His head bounced off the mat. And he kept going. Now, granted, he had a little bit of a timeout. They did sort of save him because Happy Corbin ran a little interference while the officials could check on Madcap. Great, that was cool. So it looked like he was good to go. But
he kept wrestling, and it's a Falls Count Anywhere match, so it's still going to be a violent match. So not only do we have to watch him take this horrific botch, get back up, but then we had to watch Drew throw him into the announce desk and slam him on the ground and kick him in the neck and do all these hyper-violent spots.
And punch him in the head. Like, he was still getting punched in the head. It's like,
Drew
this is not...
fully looked like the heel in that, because it was just like, you almost killed this man and now you're throwing him around. And he's annoying, but like, are you trying to kill him?
Speaking of killing, he almost decapitated Happy Corbin. Let's not forget about that part.
With the big stupid sword.
With Angela, yeah. Now, I'm also completely aware of the irony that Drew almost decapitated Happy Corbin while they were in Saudi Arabia. Completely aware of it. I get it. I hear you. I understand it. That's all I'm going to say about it. WWE, get better PR people. Once again, though.
WWE doesn't care about optics. They had Brock Lesnar dethrone every black champion they've ever had.
That is very true. Yes, for those of you unaware, it is in February 2022, the year of our Lord, the God knows how many Black History Months we've had in this country. It has come to my attention that Brock Lesnar has defeated now every Black champion WWE's had, starting with the great one, The Rock, Kofi Kingston, Big E, Bobby Lashley, all dethroned by Brock Lesnar. From one black man to the rest of you. Happy Black History Month. That's all. And I can only say I'm glad there's only about a week left, because I don't think we could take another 3.
Right. Nobody's ever been grateful that Black History Month is the shortest month of the year, except for maybe right now.
It's been a month. It's been a month. And then to top it off, Bobby Lashley. Not only does he lose his title while not competing in said match, he might have a concussion and a gimpy ankle. I don't know. He was limping. Shout out to Jason Jordan. We forgot to mention that. Jason Jordan was there.
Always a shout out to Jason Jordan, Kurt Angle's son.
Yeah, Kurt Angle's black son. Also, once again, Black History Month. So, but back to Madcap Moss. Seriously, I really do hope he's fine. He is a G among G's for finishing that match. Yeah. Even though he clear, like, just looking at it, he clearly looked a little out of it, as he should be. Yeah. And I hope he's fine. Like, I hope, whenever they do whatever test they need to do, I mean, talk about concussion protocol, that man's in concussion protocol. And I hope he shows up on Friday. That's all I'm saying.
I hope they give him some time off and he can get some money.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Yes. And Drew, I know wrestlers have, like their own little unwritten rules thing where they do each other favors and stuff like that. Drew needs to buy that man whatever he wants.
You should
I
buy him
don't
a
know,
new pair of suspenders.
or buy him a new car. Like, you're going to, I'm going to buy him a car, yo.
I
Like,
was just
buy him,
thinking of
buy.
the things that we know he likes.
That's yeah. Buy him some new shorts that he loves. So buy him that, man.
Buy
Just
him a
buy
shirt.
him.
He needs a
Buy
shirt.
him. He needs a shirt. Buy him whatever, man. Buy him a new person to hang out with because Happy Corbin's not that guy. Buy him some
Yeah.
new friends.
Pay
Like,
off
just
Happy Corbin. You know that man loves money. Pay him off.
yeah, like Drew, you should be his friend. Yeah, like something, man. Give that man something for that because he went above and beyond. So props to him. Again, be safe, wrestlers. Please be safe. From that to something that was also about wrestlers who we want to say, please be safe, and thank God they weren't hurt. Goldberg and
For very different reasons.
Roman Reigns. What did you think about the very first match, Elimination Chamber? Actually,
I actually love that it was first. Let's get it out of the way. I don't know. Roman cut a promo that said, "I'm gonna Goldberg," which
mm-hmm.
is dumb. It's a dumb thing to say. Whoever wrote
Mm-hmm.
that, you should be fired. That's bad writing. That's stupid. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Props to Roman for saying that without sounding like a complete idiot.
He
If
sounded
you're gonna
convicted,
Goldberg somebody, that means that you beat them in 2 moves. This match
right?
should have been 10 seconds long. This match was like 5 minutes long. That's crazy.
What Roman should have done if he's going to Goldberg, hit him with a spear and then hit him in a jackhammer.
Yeah.
That's what I was expecting. I really thought Roman was going to do a jackhammer. Like, oh man, that would have been ill, but they didn't do that.
I mean,
Instead,
he hit him with a ton of spears and then he put him to sleep.
yeah, that's basically what happened. He escaped the jackhammer. So Goldberg went for 2 jackhammer attempts. Roman escaped both of them. The second time, though, he countered into the guillotine, and then Goldberg passed out.
Yeah. I mean, I love Roman's guillotine. I love a guillotine.
Mhm.
I have, if I'm drunk enough, been known to put people in a guillotine chokehold. So, like,
Wow,
don't
I
fuck
need to
with
see
me.
that. I need to see that. That sounds like a party. The wildest I get with a guillotine is when I'm listening to Wu-Tang and RZA pronounces it guillotine. And I just always think that's the best thing ever. Like, yeah, and there's a kung fu movie called The Master of the Flying Guillotine. And whenever I'm listening to Wu, I'm always like, oh, The Master of the Flying Guillotine. Like, it just rubs it off in my, yeah, that's the wildest I get. Wow, he actually,
It's a good move.
yeah,
But if we're thinking about like long-term storytelling, which LOL, WWE is never thinking about long-term storytelling. But if I'm thinking me as a wrestler, I guess I don't have that big enough of an ego, but like if
unless you're
I
Cody.
want to tell a story, unless I'm Cody, if I want to tell a story where that like puts my career in like perspective and highlight, like having Goldberg's like last match be a match where he's defeated with his moves is poetic. Of course, this won't be his last match because he'll be
No.
trotted out next February for the Blood Money
Yes.
pay-per-view. But
Yes.
I don't know. There's just better storytelling to happen. But what did I want? It wasn't the worst match Goldberg has had in Saudi Arabia, and that's all that we can ask for.
And everyone's walked away.
Yep.
Like, that's how I look at it. They both walked away. Everybody's fine. Roman did what he could. Goldberg did the best of what was asked of him. He didn't tap, so I'm sure that's going to be the thing that, hey, you didn't tap him, you didn't pin him, he passed out, he's a tough guy. It's their way to make him look strong while still making Roman look extra strong, especially because Roman now defeated the guy that surprised Brock Lesnar 6 years ago. Like, Goldberg has a win over Brock. Did Brock ever get that win back or no? I think he did, right? Let's say he did. Let's just
probably. It's Brock Lesnar. I have a goldfish memory. You cannot be asking me questions like that without research.
I'll do that. I'll be the one to do that. Let's just say he did, because of course he did. So but it definitely means something that Brock has a loss against Goldberg and Roman does not.
Yeah,
that's something that Roman can use as ammo, and the new WWE champion will do with that what he will. But again, match is fine. It's whatever. Like you said, I'm glad it was first. Let's get it out the way. Cool.
Well, it wasn't actually first because we did have a pre-show match because they kicked Rey Mysterio and The Miz to the pre-show. I mean, nothing really happened in this match. It was the match that you assumed it would be. It was a pre-show match. It was Rey Mysterio and The Miz. We've been in this feud for a while. But I guess the thing is, he's going to call a mystery partner. Which
he's going to a mystery partner who has just as many superlatives as Miz, who's just as handsome as Miz. And just as famous or popular or whatever, it's Miz. So it's all these things that Miz thinks of himself, and he knows who he's going to call. Not the Ghostbusters. My guess is Cody Rhodes, and we will talk about why later. But
I don't know. I
the other,
think it might be Logan Paul.
oh, that's actually a good call.
I don't think Cody Rhodes would be willing to go to WWE to be John Morrison Part 2.
The Logan Paul thing actually works. But who do we know of anyone who has beef with Ray though? Like any famous people who have beef with Ray? I mean, everyone loves Ray.
Yeah, I don't
But
think so.
yeah, I don't think so. I mean, the other reason for this match was to promote WWE 2K22. Everyone go get it because WWE wants you to get it. That's the main reason this match existed, to promote the video game. The video game
You're
comes
not
out
going to
in.
get it though, right?
No, I'm waiting for people to tell
For
me
the
it's not
reviews.
broken. I just want to know it's not broken, and then I'll be fine. And even then, I'll probably wait because I'll wait till it goes on sale because video games go on sale like 2 weeks after they come out now. But that was the main reason this thing existed. It's fine. It is what it is.
It's a pre-show match. It
Yeah,
belonged on the
exactly.
pre-show. We have one question before we get to our main event.
Mm-hmm,
This
mm-hmm.
is from at Rockford_guy on Twitter. Do you think we'll ever get a Lashley versus Lesnar rubber match?
So it's funny. Homeboy should ask that. The prevailing theory is Lesnar works 2 matches at WrestleMania this year. I don't see that happening, but maybe. I mean, there's
We either get unification or we get a Brock Lesnar match each night.
right. That's basically how it works because I can't see them. I don't know what they're going to sell night one with. Like, how do you sell night one without a men's main event? Like you need that 2 main
You
event
sell it
thing, which is
with
what they do.
the women's main event, though, right?
But they're gonna want two. They're gonna want 2 main event. They're gonna want a men's main event, and then they're going to women's main event after that. That's
I
how
don't
they
think they
roll.
understand what the word main event means.
Oh, I know they don't. You and I both know they don't. You and I both know they don't. I mean, even today they said AJ Styles is the main event at WrestleMania. And I'm like, no, he hasn't. But they're thinking, oh, well, he defended the WWE title at WrestleMania, therefore he main evented. Oh, yeah, no, that's not how that works. No, the last match is the main
That's not
event,
how
not the,
any of this works.
yeah. So that's how they're going to look at it. Is that, well, we need 2 main events for each night, and they're gonna say we have a men's main event, women's main event. Maybe it is Brock versus Lashley rubber match, or maybe they just say, you know what, nah, we're cool with that, and let's just do the women's main event, which is what I would do since that's the actual definition of the word.
Yeah, I don't know. If we don't get it at Mania, I bet it will just be like a convoluted thing that happens like a couple months after Mania.
They'll save it for SummerSlam.
I think it will happen eventually.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard. It will be kind of hard not to, especially considering how Bobby Lashley left that match, right?
With the boo-boo. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He'll be like, "Well, you never beat me." Like that's built in. So yeah, I do think so.
And MVP is going to clearly, complain to Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville because she's going to have her jacket on.
Yeah,
And he's
have
gonna
her jacket
have so many words for them, and they're going to be forced to give it to him eventually. So yeah. But I can also see Adam Pearce saying, "Well, we don't want to destroy our championship versus championship or title, whatever they're doing."
We're calling it the Make the Belts Kiss match.
Okay, let's go with that. They don't want to destroy their Make the Belts Kiss match, so Adam Pearce is going to weasel his way out of it, and he's going to kick the can down the road. So that's fine. It is what it is. Which is, again, WWE. That's just how I feel about WWE at this moment. It is what it is.
Are you ready, Marcus? Are you ready for the main event?
Yes.
Free agent Cody Rhodes!
So we laughed and we mocked and we said it was ridiculous. And
more than fool us.
Right. We said the entire exercise was just whatever. And then lo and behold, we wake up one morning this past week.
Like Christmas morning.
We checked our Twitter just like Cody checks his every morning. And we saw that Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes are no longer at AEW. I was shocked.
Yeah, Cody Rhodes. I've said it before. I'll say it till the day I die. Cody Rhodes is the living embodiment of you live long enough to see yourself turn into the villain. This is a man who left WWE, worked the indies, got this big crowd behind him in a way that he never got in WWE. People, including me, there is the digital evidence of me writing this and saying this, calling him like a genius and like the future of wrestling, whatever. He co-starts this a competition company with, the Bucks and the Elite or whatever. He becomes the face of this movement. And then he bought his own hype and he bought it hard. And then he bid it hard.
Pretty much. I mean, like we've all, and if you're out there in wrestling world, we all pretty much surmise that Cody is all. Cody fell in love with Cody, like you just said. He bought his own hype. He fell for it really hard, and judging by words from Kenny Omega today, that's exactly what happened.
That Kenny Omega interview was
Yo,
wild.
yo, yo, I'm not even the guy who's all like, "Ooh, spill the tea," but
No.
yo,
I'm
Ken,
a guy that's like, ooh, spill the tea. So
yeah.
I'm over here like, wee.
Kenny was just like, look, man, Cody had a different vision of what this thing was going to be, and the Bucks and I were never on that train. Like,
Which is also hilarious because the Bucks and Kenny were definitely on that train too. To be like, well, no, Cody always wanted to be WWE versus AEW. Like, he's the one with the sledgehammer and the throne and stuff.
mhm,
Like, we
mhm,
never did anything like that. And it's like,
mhm.
oh, yes,
Yeah,
you
right.
did. But throwing Cody directly under the bus, also a
Bro,
hilarious move.
not only did he throw him under the bus, he threw him under the bus, rolled over it, then rolled back, then rolled again because he even hit him with the, we'd have everything going on, our promos and our stuff, and there's this stuff in the Cody verse. I'm like, geez, good lord,
The
dude.
Cody verse. I mean, I think it just seems they all started on the same page, and then a lot of people realized, like, oh, we actually don't need to be the other guy. We can just be our own thing. And then
Mm,
Cody was still in the like, we're the other guy, but also like, I'm the guy.
mm,
And
mm.
everybody was like, no, you're not.
Right, it's like, and it's weird. Like, and no diss to Cody, all right. But
No,
one thing I said
complete diss
earlier
to
this
Cody.
week, I'm saying no diss to him with this particular comment.
Okay.
You can't look at someone like CM Punk, someone like Bryan Danielson, someone like John Moxley, someone like all the attention your company's getting, all these big names you're bringing in, and realistically, you can't look at that and be like, yeah, I'm the guy. Come on, dude. Like, you're not. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you're not. And I don't.
Cody Rhodes has the energy of my college ex-boyfriend who was a comedy writer in Chicago who once at a diner compared himself to Kurt Vonnegut, and I
Oh,
laughed in his face, and he said, "You don't think I'm a good writer?" And I said, "I don't think you're Kurt Vonnegut." And then we broke up the following week. That is the
I can
energy that
understand
Cody
that.
Rhodes has.
I can understand. Well, and that's funny. I compared it to, so the WWE then now for everything they have,
The
and
new
they,
terrible voiceover, then,
yeah, that's awful. I don't know. They need to get rid of that.
now, forever,
Talk about a company up its own butt.
together.
Yeah, yeah, like, it's so weird. It's ominous and off-putting. But they have these voices. You got Rock, you've got the Austin Glass. They used to have the Ric Flair woo. You've got the John Cena thing, and in the middle of that, you got the Undertaker gong, and in the middle of that, there's Triple H doing the King of Kings. I'm just like, yeah, no, I don't think you belong here, buddy. And it's not, and it's just Triple H is dope. Yes, Triple H was dope. He's one of the dopest. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
The
is he?
saddest thing in Cody Rhodes' life is that he hates Triple H so much because he is
Yes,
Triple H.
yes. Right. It is self-loathing. That is his
Yeah.
self-loathing. It's, he in Triple H, he sees everything that he hates about himself, and now he's potentially, possibly, here's the other rumor, going to be working with Triple H or for Triple H, however that works in WWE. And I am so fascinated by how this is going to work. You leave the company that you helped launch, you leave an executive position, mind you, to go to the quote unquote competition to be lesser. Because if your whole thing is, according to Kenny and according to the rumors, that you didn't like the direction AEW was going because you really wanted it to be centered around you, do you really think that's going to happen in WWE? Are
Yes.
you are
Sorry,
you
you're not Brock Lesnar.
right? Are you Brock
So,
Lesnar, Roman Reigns?
also, they're not going to let
No.
him bleed. What is Cody
Oh my
without the
God! Right,
blood?
right. He can't bleed. He can't talk about liberty. um, I, apparently the rumor is they have no interest in Brandy. So Brandy, again, I've said on the show before, I love Brandy.
They don't need ring announcers. They don't need backstage people. And Brandy's not a good enough wrestler to be a draw.
Right. And that's what she wants. She wants to be a women's wrestler. She's not going to fit in that puzzle.
No.
So
I mean, she didn't fit in the AEW puzzle. Why would she fit in the WWE puzzle?
But to that point, actually, she left an executive position to go do what? It's just really weird. And maybe this is, me coming because I don't have as many commas in my bank account as they do. All right. So maybe that's why my head is the way it is, which is I can't imagine leaving an executive position at a company
to be a glorified mid-card.
Right. I'm a boss here. I'm a boss. Like Brandy was a boss. Cody was a boss. Like regardless of, whatever we think about, Brandy as a wrestler or whatever we think about, Cody buying into his own hype, they were bosses.
Yeah. Literally.
So yeah, so you left being a boss to not even be an underboss. You left to go to, like you said, to be mid-card, to just be another wrestler. That's all you left to be. In Brandy's case, she left to not even be a wrestler. Who knows what she's going to be?
Who is going to run AEW heels, Marcus?
That is the main question. Not only is who's going to beef with Dan Lambert now, and be called a stripper,
I'm
and
sure
other
Dan Lambert
derogatory
will
things.
call anybody in front of him a stripper,
including
he's got face blindness when it comes to women, and so he just is like, "You're all the same. You're all strippers."
I mean, who's going to come out?
There's nothing, for the record, wrong with being a stripper.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, not at all. We're just making.
There is something wrong with an old dude weaponizing that word.
Yes, that's the problem. And so we're laughing at it because it's ridiculous, not because we agree with him. But it's just, who's going to fight Homegirl now? EVP, who's going to fight her? All that, like, that's done now. That's gone.
You know what? There's nothing wrong with any of that being done. That's the real silver lining here. We never have to see that segment again.
Yeah, I know. I'm completely joking. I didn't like how they used Brandy in that segment.
Oh yeah,
we talked about that before. Yeah. I thought it was, again, if she was cool with it, fine, whatever, man. But as a viewer, wasn't feeling her being ran down by Dan Lambert.
What if they don't go to wrestling at all? What if they have like Hollywood aspirations or political aspirations? Like, honestly, go do all of that. Well, maybe not the politics. I don't know. I feel like real politicians should be. If a celebrity, here's my political soapbox. If a celebrity wants to get into politics, great. You should start at your local level.
Thank you. That's all I've been saying. All this stuff about, Rock wants to run for president. Cool. If Rock runs for city council, cool. If Rock runs for comptroller, cool. If Rock then steps up to be governor, cool. Rock just immediately being
Rock needs to run for water management.
Or dog catcher, like something. Like, just start, like, or even if he just pulled the Schwarzenegger and was like, you know what? I'm going to be governor of California. I do. Cool. Fine. Mostly because that doesn't affect me. So I'm being selfish. But
sorry, California, eat it.
Right. But, like, whatever, man. Like, start so that you at least have a background. If Cody wants to get into politics, do something local in Georgia, man.
Kane became a mayor, and Kane might not be my type of mayor, but at least he was just like, I'll be a mayor. Speaking
of Kane, real quick to segue real quick off of that.
Kane's not going to the Hall of Fame, but he should, but his brother is.
There you go. There it is. There it is. And I was watching their beautiful, beautiful, well-produced Hall of Fame video for The Undertaker.
30-minute Hall of Fame video.
It was which is going to be as long as it takes him to get to the ring. So we need to do a speech. And I just had one thought. Stella hates this.
I will not tweet about Kane. I will not tweet about Kane. I will not tweet about Kane.
So just to wrap up our main event, how do you see this thing shaking out with Cody? Or you just like, you know what?
If Cody comes back, he gets a huge pop. He's the focus for 1 week, and then he gets thrown in the mid card, and he looks back on his choices, and a single tear runs down his face and into his neck tattoo.
Okay, next question then, because that's funny. Now we've had some disagreement on this in our Slack. Does Vince get petty with him?
I think that actually no, because I think that Cody, for all of his myriad of faults, is smart in a way when it comes to backstage stuff now that he wasn't before, and that I think he will be smarter when it comes to like contracts and stuff. And I think that he will build himself an out and will be like, if you make me do something crazy and stupid, I will walk.
Okay, that's fair. I will agree with what you said on that. I think the way it ends is, Cody comes back, like you said, he gets his champions welcome, he gets his heroes Hosanna, all that, like Jesus coming into Jerusalem, all that. He gets that whole thing, and then it just fades, and he just becomes another guy
What
on the
happens
card.
when his music hits and he gets booed in WWE like he was getting booed at
Oh
AEW?
man, oh man, he's gonna, what, in WWE, he's gonna have to embrace him, just be a heel,
But
like,
he won't be a heel.
yeah. Well,
But Arn
what's going?
Anderson's not there to stop it.
Arn Anderson's not there to stop him. Also, actually, I have a better answer. When he starts getting booed from his music, he's gonna go to the back. The camera's gonna follow him. Then the camera's gonna turn black, and then he's gonna come back out, and he's gonna have Liberty in his hand because Liberty saves us all. Remember that.
All right, we got to wrap it up. That's it for this week. Don't stress. We'll be back next week. We'll continue to talk about the Elimination Chamber fallout, I'm sure, but we'll also refocus onto AEW and their build for Revolution because lots of stuff happened there this week. And also Dan O'Brien and Jon Moxley and their beautiful love story.
And the fact that the face of the Revolution is no longer a part of the Revolution. Bye-bye, Cody. We're sorry. We miss you. If you'd like to be on the podcast, make sure to send your recorded questions and comments to cagesidesocials@gmail.com, and you might be featured on next week's episode. We've already got several questions that we are housing and storing, so thank you all for sending them in. We appreciate that. We really do.
If you want to follow us on Twitter, I'm at Stella_Cheeks.
And I'm at Abstract Poetic, a 3 with an E supposed to be.
And of course, you can find more wrestling coverage at Cageside Seats on Twitter and Instagram.
And if we miss something you desperately want to talk about, like Cody's neck tattoo, head over to cagesideseats.com and chat with us in the comments of this episode post.
Until next time, Cagesiders.
The tapes are always rolling.